Hello and welcome to Grognard Solo Gaming. I am the Grognard and today we are continuing with Old School Essentials. The very first thing that we are going to do is that we are going to wrap up a few things that technically took place during the last session, and that would be the experience points and the gold for the defeated bandits. So what I will do is that I'm going to go to the referee's top and then I'm going to look at the bandits. And here it says that they are worth 10 experience points and that their treasure type is U. And then the A type is when they are in their lair, and these bandits were not. So then I am going to give 90 experience points to the whole party. So that's 10 points per party member. And then I'm going to go to this treasure table to find out what they found on the bandits. And here we have the treasure types. And here we find type U. And then either I could roll 10% chance for 1d100 copper pieces, 10% chance for 1d100 silver pieces, and so on and so on. However, because the party had a bonus of 33% during the last session, I'm just going to pick the average and I'm going to multiply that by 1.33. And that is how many gold pieces that they are going to have looted from the bandits. So, with the bonus multiplier, that means that the party gained 213 pieces of gold that they can spend as a party, and then each individual character got an additional 24 experience points, meaning they each have 34 points of experience right now. And as the sessions go on, I'm going to explain things less and less. I'm going to assume that you have seen previous episodes, and if you haven't, then I highly recommend that you go back and watch them so that you know what's going on. So for an example, these are the power dice, and this time the party got one extra. Originally, I said that they were not going to carry over from session to session, but because they are relatively few still, I'm going to allow them to bring them from session to session. So now they are up to 5 power dice. And the previous session had 29 likes, so that means that the party is going to get a bonus multiplier of 1.29 for this session, if they find any gold, that is. And the weather in Stockholm is 2 degrees Celsius or 36 degrees Fahrenheit, and windy, rainy, perhaps a little bit snowy, but like last time, it's nothing that's going to impact the party as they try to travel across the map. One thing that I mentioned during session 0 that I forgot to mention during the last session is that the interactivity isn't just the power dice and the bonus to gold, but there is also the ability for you, the viewer, to give suggestions in the comments, and then I'm going to potentially add those suggestions to the campaign as it progresses. This far, there hasn't been any suggestions yet. However, I did get a funny comment, and just to show how sort of easy it is to get something into the campaign, I am going to read this comment and then I'm going to explain what I'm going to do with it. So I had some audio issues during the last session, and it resulted in this clicking noise. And this commenter, Moktipotili, he wrote the following. The clicks you hear are a translation into the Ixit tongue. Please respect our buggy friends and keep the complaining to minimum in the comments. Bzzt, click. And so what I'm going to do with this comment is that I am going to add a island of these bug creatures, whatever they might be. They are called the Ixit, and they speak the Ixit language. So somewhere along the way, this island and these bug people are going to show up. And that's how easy it is to make an addition to the game, as long as I am okay with what you are suggesting. So feel free to leave suggestions, and hopefully, Moktipotili, you don't mind that I turn this comment into a feature in the game. Now, I am pretty sure that some of you, those of you who have not played with this one-to-one style of time, are wondering sort of what is the purpose. And the purpose of that style of timekeeping is that the campaign comes alive in a different way. The game sort of makes demands. It makes playing more urgent and therefore also many times more interesting. Because what has happened now, because there's been so much time since the last session, is that I'm going to have to find out what has happened, what have the NPCs been doing. So that is what we're going to look into next. So the last session started on the 8th and it ended on the 13th, and it ended with the party going back to their boat. Today it is the 22nd, and that means that 9 days have passed. So the party have spent, probably they have spent 9 days on the boat. And that means that we're going to have to find out what has happened in these 9 days. And if you watched the previous episode, then you will remember, probably, that the party left 6 bandits tied up in an abandoned building near this magical pumpkin thing that they heard about, or that they saw, actually. So the first thing that I need to find out is, did any of those 6 bandits manage to break free? And if they did, then probably they also freed all their friends. So let's find. Okay, so Grek'on actually does have a +1 to his damage, so that means that the last bandit was killed. I wasn't entirely sure, but that means that there are indeed 6 bandits that are tied up. And what I'm going to say is that they are going to get 1 chance to free themselves, and their chance of succeeding is a D4 on a D20. So their chance is only on a 1 are they going to be able to free themselves. So that would be 5% chance. And here are the dice for the bandits. And there is no, because this would be a roll under roll, like their dexterity probably. And so the nat 20 is not good for anything. And that means all of the bandits are going to most likely die from dehydration in this abandoned building where the party left them, because the party most probably gagged the bandits, and also any people that live near this jack-o'-lantern, the pumpkin creature, are going to know that it's potentially dangerous to go there, so no one is really going to want to get close to this abandoned building anyway. So that was the tragic fate of the 6 bandits that could have made it, but they didn't. Okay, so I will use sort of the same style of a roll for Targosa. And yes, I switched out Flark's die. Flark now has a black die with golden numbers, and all the bad guys have black dice with white numbers. So this D4 is the risk that the king finds out that Targosa has the enchanted candy. And the risk is 20%. So if I roll a 1 to a 4 on the D20, then Targosa is found out during these 9 days. Let's see. She is indeed found out. Oh no, poor Targosa. Let's see. So I will use this type of roll one more time, and this is to find out if Targosa sort of gets away, if she somehow comes out on top of the confrontation with the bandits. Because I'm thinking maybe if she's lucky, maybe she can use the enchanted candy to summon ghosts, and the ghosts will help her escape the bandits somehow. But I feel that her chances are slim. So it's the same type of roll again. And she has only a 5%. No, she did not roll a nat 1. So that means the bandits have taken the enchanted candy from Targosa. Then the next question for the coin is, did they kill Targosa? Yes, they did. Unfortunately, because the party were not fast enough to act, and 9 days passed. In those 9 days, Targosa was killed, and the bandit king now has the enchanted candy that is going to let him summon ghosts and speak to ghosts, which might be quite bad for the party if they are going to fight him. So I have done a little bit of thinking, and I have decided to stitch a few things together to make the story a bit more coherent. And I used this Halloween-themed deck during the last session, and I really quite liked it. And what I decided was that the reason why there are Halloween vibes on this island is that there is a witch, and she probably has a hut or a tower or something like that somewhere on the island. And it's a little bit like a lair in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, where the presence of the witch and her hut and her magic sort of warps and changes the island and nature. And the closer you get, the stronger that effect is. So that was the explanation for this deck. And that, of course, also means that I will continue using that deck while the party is on this island, and of course also as long as the witch remains on the island and remains alive. Then there was also the story about Merrick the merman, the leader, the bandit king, the leader of the bandits on the island. And I decided to tie him to the witch. The witch, her name is Gretchen. And what I decided is that his name is Merrick the Merman because he is actually slowly being transformed into a merman, or some sort of maybe more like a creature from the Black Lagoon type creature. So he is growing scales because of a curse placed on him by Gretchen. Now exactly why Gretchen would curse Merrick, it's not decided yet, and we'll leave that for now. But my initial thought was this sort of silly, funny idea where the king would be sort of, something like this, like a Hugh Laurie type character, but then when I read the card again, it says that they are quite brutal, and I figured that the feeling of the gang and the Bandit King should probably be darker, and so I have decided to switch Merrick from a funny character to a more dark, sinister character, looking more like the Leper King, perhaps from that movie, whatever it's called. I will put it on the screen. So the reason that Merrick is so desperately trying to find this treasure is that the treasure is supposed to contain something that can lift his curse and prevent him from turning into a merman or a sea creature monster type being. So that is why also he would send his bandits to the jack-o'-lantern, even though he realized that it was very dangerous and so far they had only died, and he still kept sending them. The reason is that he is desperate to lift this curse. Probably if his physical transformation is complete, probably he loses his mind and he becomes like some sort of a beast. So that is why he is prepared to throw his men's lives away at this quest. And that was also why he wanted the candy, because probably at least he thinks that if he can get in contact with perhaps it's a specific person or just the dead in general, then someone, one of the ghosts that he's able to summon, is going to be able to tell him where this treasure that has the item that can lift the curse, where it's located. So that's actually something that I can look into right now. So for this one, I am simply going to ask the yes/no coin. Has Merrick discovered the location of the treasure that he is seeking? No, he has not. So that means maybe the jack-o'-lantern knows the location, but none of the ghosts so far have been able to tell him the location. So the enchanted candy has 3d6 charges, and then it has been fully consumed. So it had 12 charges when Merrick got a hold of it. And then this is the amount of charges that he has used up. 43%. For those of you who are interested in the solo gaming aspect of what I'm doing and how I am picking the chances of things happening or not happening, I just make them up on the spot. There is no big plan. However, I am a big fan of using a coin and a simple yes/no, and I many times actually prefer a simple yes/no to one of those oracles that has a yes and, yes but, no and result. I just feel that this is much more concrete and much faster to use. So unfortunately there is no great plan and no genius behind it all. It's just made up in the moment on the spot. So you can very much do the same thing when you are playing yourself. And on that topic, I can also say that the point of this game is very much to hopefully inspire someone to play a game like this themselves, if it looks like something that you would find fun. And that is why I am not acting out the characters very much. I'm not doing voices and talking to myself as different characters very much, because I feel like most of us probably, when we are gaming alone and not filming for YouTube, then that is how we would play. So I feel like it gives a more natural and realistic view on what solo gaming would or could be like if you want to play the way that I'm playing right now. Okay, so we know that there were 50 bandits in Redport to begin with, and the party, they probably believe that it's more around 100 because Targosa was ill-informed. However, that means because the party has now caused the death of 9 bandits, there are 41 bandits left to deal with. So after 9 days on the boat, and we don't really have to find an explanation for why the party were stuck on the boat. Maybe someone got sick, maybe they all got sick. Well, I guess we will never know. But then they are going to go back into Redport, and I have the card. Right, I also have this. This is what the map of Blood Coast Island looks like currently. So the party have been on their boat here west of Redport, and now they are re-entering the city. And somewhere, not here, but probably somewhere here, Gretchen the Witch has her hut or tower or whatever it's going to turn out to be, but I haven't placed that on the map just yet. And at this point, we have used up... How many did we use up? We used up 3 of the random town encounters. So what I'm going to do is I am going to roll, instead of a d6, I'm going to roll a d3 on simply the unused results on this chart. And a 1. Thieves disguised as guards attack. Oh no. It would make sense that the king, the bandit king, didn't realize that there was a sort of a foul play from the party's side when 9 of the bandits went missing, because he probably thought that they fell victim to the jack-o'-lantern. But I'm thinking now, since there is sort of an unprovoked attack, the party re-enters the city for the first time in 9 days and they are instantly jumped. I'm thinking it is then a likely explanation that the Bandit King has found out what they did to the first 9 bandits. So let us see how many bandits are in this ambush. Well, and as you might remember, bandits, there are 1d8 of them if they're in a dungeon and 3d10 if it's in the wild. However, I feel like maybe both of these, one is too easy, and I mean it's highly unlikely one bandit attacks a party of 9 characters, but also perhaps if they end up being 30, that is probably a TPK. Well, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the coin, and this way it is going to be fair, sort of. So I'm going to ask the coin, is it a d8? And if it's a yes, then they are 1d8. And if it's a no, then they are 3d10. So it's a 50-50 how dangerous this is going to be. And the question was, are they a d8? And the answer was yes. So that means that there are only 1d8 bandits, and that ends up being 4. So let's see what happens. Okay, so the way that I'm going to make sense of the fact that there are only 4 bandits attacking the party, there are 9 people, is that they are going to ambush them using ranged weapons. So the bandits have placed themselves on the 2nd floor of a building, and then they have barricaded the door downstairs that leads to the street. And the bandits have no risk of being surprised, but the party has a double risk of being surprised. So the first thing that I'm going to check is if the party is surprised, and if they roll a 1 to a 4 on a d6, then they are surprised. So they are surprised, and that is really bad, because that means the bandits get to act, and then we roll initiatives. And what I am going to do, because the thing is that crossbows in this game, they are slow, they have the reload property, so they would only get to attack in the surprise round, and then they would have to reload, and that would be really beneficial for the party. So I'm going to use the coin and say that it's a 50-50, and I am asking the coin, are they attacking with crossbows? And if the answer is no, then it means short bows. They do have crossbows, which is quite good for the party, so let's see how this turns out. Okay, so the pen symbolizes the wall of the house, and then I'm placing 4 bandits on this side, and any character that manages to get into the building and up on the 2nd floor, they are going to move to this area. But so it's not really, it's more of an abstract image of what's going on. And last time the combat ended up being quite messy, and I managed to confuse myself more than once, and that was because I was making up the how I would use the tokens and things like that as I was going along, and that's why it ended up the way that it did. But this time I have created one of these, and it's probably going to have a lot of glare, so I'm going to put it on the screen as an overlay, and it's just a way to keep the combat more structured and to make it easier for me to remember who is going to do what and who has done what in the round. All right, so in order to make it perhaps more exciting, I am going to first roll up the targets, and at this point Pantera and Urso, they are not big enough to be considered threats. I mean, even though they are technically quite dangerous, and Pantera killed a man last session. But so I'm not going to count the pets, and that means I'm going to roll a d10, and if I roll a 10, a 0, then I am going to reroll. So let's see who gets hit with a crossbow bolt. And that would be number 3, Grek'on. Number 5, that would be poor Artaigon. Number 7, that would be Lekkis. And Lekkis now is Lekkis III. And in case he dies, then we are going to see Lekkis IV. But let's hope not. No, wait, that was so 9, 8, 7. Sorry, that was Calliope, because Urso doesn't count. And then this was a 9, so that is Tharos. Okay, all right. Bandits, they have a THACO of 19, And when they are shooting at close range, they have a +1. So that means they start at an 18. And Grek'on has an AC of 4, meaning the first one needs a 14 or higher to hit Grek'on. Let's see. That would be a miss, lucky Grek'on. Second bandit shooting at Artaigon, who unfortunately does not have an armor, and an AC of 9, meaning this bandit needs a 9 or higher. Oh, that was just what he needed. So let us see. Artaigon has 4 hit points. The crossbow inflicts 1d6 points of damage. If he goes down to 0 or below, he is as dead as can be. However, he is going to be allowed to use one of these to subtract from the damage if necessary, but only one. That is a dead illusionist unless he can roll a 2 or higher. And he rolled a 4, so he takes 1 point of damage, and Artaigon is still in the game. Lucky, and thank you to all the people that gave the party some power dice. All right, the third bandit taking a shot at Calliope. Let's see. Calliope has an AC of 6, meaning this bandit needs to roll 12 or higher. That is unfortunately a hit. So it is sort of the same deal, except that Calliope has 6 hit points, so only on a 6 is she killed and forced to use a power die. And a 5, that is pretty bad. She is actually going to use a power die to decrease that by 2, so she has taken 3 points of damage and she is at 3 hit points. And the fourth and final bandit is going to fire at poor Tharos, who has only 1 hit point, so this is not going to be good. And also he has an AC of 8, meaning the bandit needs to roll a 10 or higher to hit. Ooh, lucky Tharos. Maybe that is what's going to save him, that he is lucky. Let's hope. So then it is time for a new round, and this round there is no surprise anymore. So I am going to roll the initiative, and the party uses the blue die, and in case of a tie, they actually win. And that is not a tie, they lose the initiative. Luckily, however, the bandits all need to use this turn to reload their crossbows, which is very, very good for the party, because it means that they are going to have the ability to, or the chance to move so close to the building that it is going to be very difficult for the bandits to shoot them unless they lean out of the windows and make good targets out of themselves. Okay, so going through the bandits' turn, they won the initiative and then they get to act. And the first thing that is done is to check morale, but they don't need to make a morale check because nothing bad has happened for their side. Then they get to move, and the only movement that they make is that they take cover behind the walls, so they are no longer visible in the windows. And then they reload, and that is that for the bandits, and then it is over to the party. Okay, so then it is the party's turn, and there is no morale check, so they are going to move, and Flark is going to try to crash his way through the door so that the party can enter the building, and he has a 4 in 6 chance of breaking down a door, so let's see how that goes. He needs to roll low on the d6 in order to succeed. And a 4 is indeed a success. Okay, so I am removing this because there is no longer any barrier for the party, or rather protecting the bandits from the party. However, it is going to take this round for the party. Everyone who wants to reach the second floor, they need to spend this whole round moving. Well, technically maybe they could fire some sort of a ranged weapon. Well, let's think about that. However, everyone is going to rush inside, but Artaigon and Calliope, who are both wounded, they are going to stay behind. They don't want to risk getting hit by another projectile. So that is what is going to happen this round. And then, well, it's likely, since they barricaded themselves in this building, that the doors would be closed. So let's make it 50-50. If the first member of the party to reach the second floor is able to fire some sort of a ranged weapon at one of the bandits, 50-50. Is that possible? No. So the party, they only reach the second floor on this round, and this round the bandits are reloading their crossbows, and then we are moving into the third round, counting the surprise round as the first round. Initiatives, round 3, the party is blue, and the party loses the initiative again. That is not good. However, because the bandits are using crossbows, and crossbows have the slow property, it means that they go last in the initiative order. To be honest, I don't really like the idea of slow weapons. I feel like many of the weapons that are considered slow in this game, there isn't really anything very slow about them. I feel like it's an exaggeration of an idea of the weapon that doesn't really affect the user in reality. So I might in the future actually just remove the slow property. I don't really like it. But because I haven't done it ahead of time, these poor bandits, they're stuck with their slow crossbows, and that means that the party goes first. Okay, so what technically happens is that we don't declare any spells, and then there is declaration of melee movement, but there is no melee, so there is no melee movement. Then the bandits won the initiative. They get to act. They don't need to check morale. They don't move anywhere. They aim their crossbows at the party, but they don't get to fire because their weapons are slow. And then we go over to the other side, and that is the party. And there are still no morale checks to be made. And the movement is that, well, let's see. Curtis Torin, last time I said that he fired his short bow. That wasn't true because he has daggers. I originally bought a short bow for him because he had a lot of money, but then it turned out that mages cannot have or use short bows. So that was why I got confused about that. But he is going to throw a dagger. Grimindor is going to throw a dagger. Grek'on is going to take Pantera and go into melee. Daviez is going to go into melee. Artaigon is going to stay downstairs. Flark is going to go into melee. Calliope is going to stay downstairs for now. Lekkis is going to go into melee together with Urso. And Tharos is going to fire his bow. I'm pretty sure he has a short bow. So that was the movement for the party. And then it is time for the missiles for the party. Okay, so Curtis Torin, he has a Thaco of 18 with his thrown dagger. So let us see against the AC of 6. 12 or higher, and that was a miss, just barely. Then it is Grimindor's turn, and he gets a nat 20. Nice. Unfortunately, there is no double damage in this game, and I'm not gonna house rule that actually at this point. So he inflicts a d4, but he gets the maximum, and that means that Grimindor has actually killed a bandit. Not bad, Grimindor. Let's take this one. So Artaigon is downstairs. He is not going to act on his initiative, and the same thing goes for Calliope. So then the last person to fire a missile is going to be Tharos with his short bow, and let's see how he does. A 5 is unfortunately a miss for Tharos. Then we are going to spells, but there are no spells, and then that means we have reached the melee. And there is some melee going on, so let's have, well, I mean, technically then Grek'on doesn't have a target, and he's not allowed to move. Unfortunately for Grek'on and Pantera, they are just standing there looking at a dead bandit. However, Daviez gets to attack with his sword. Unfortunately, a 5 is not going to hit that bandit, even if that bandit was already wounded. So that means we are going to see how Flark does against his bandit. 12. 12 is a hit because Flark is very strong. His Thaco is 17, so that means that he hits the bandit for 1d6 plus 2 points of damage with his mace. 8 points of damage, that is twice as much as a bandit has, and that means the bandit is completely smashed to pieces and dead instantly. And the last party member to act is going to be Lekkis and his pet Urso, and they are going to attack that bandit. And a natural 1 for the bear, that is guaranteed to miss, and an 11. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to hit. No, Lekkis has a Thaco of 18, and the bandits have an AC of 6. So 11 plus 6, 17. he does not get up to 18, so that is a miss. Right, and I almost forgot that the bandits have yet to fire. So that means that they are going to do that, and they are going to, well, I'm going to have to look up firing in melee range first. All right, missile attacks are possible when opponents are more than 5 feet from one another. See, attacking. So they, in fact, cannot shoot in melee with their crossbows. So that means they are going to have to drop their crossbows and draw their daggers. So that is what they are going to do, but then they don't get to attack. And that means we are moving on to the next round, and this time I'm not going to roll the initiative. The first thing that I do, instead, I'm going to start with step 1, declare spells and melee movement. Right, so they might perhaps be keen on running away, but, well, they probably are not going to be able to do that. But there are no spells, and there is going to be, well, I mean, technically, it's a little bit weird because I would like to make the morale check, and if they fail the morale check, then probably they would try to jump out the window, but to jump out the window would be melee movement, and that has to be declared before the morale check is rolled. So, well, let's say that well, I'm just going to roll the morale roll. They have a morale of 8. And they super succeed, so these bandits are ferocious and they're going to fight to the death. So that means that there is no melee movement, and then it's time for the initiative, and the party is blue, and the party loses the initiative again. And that means that the bandits go first, and they already checked their morale, so they don't need to move. They are not going to fire any missiles, they're not going to cast any spells, they are going to go straight to melee, and they are going to stab their opponents with their daggers. So this bandit stabbing Daviez, nat 1 is not going to do it. So let's move on to the next bandit trying to stab Lekkis with his dagger, and a 4 is not going to do it either. And that means it is back to the party, and the party is going to, well, move. Grek'on is gonna move here, like that, and then Flark is gonna move there, like that. And these two, Artaigon and Calliope, they are going to go upstairs now that it's relatively safe to do so. So then it is time for the missiles, and we are just going to do this as quickly as possible. Curtis Torin throws it with a nat 20. Well, right, he inflicts 4 points of damage. That takes this one down. And at this point, with 8 characters on a single bandit, this bandit, well, actually I said that they were going to fight to the death. So, okay, he gets to fight to the death. Let's see if Grimindor is able to put him out of his misery. That is a hit. And he also inflicts a d4, a 3. So this poor guy, he has 1 hit point left. And then it is Artaigon's turn. And Artaigon can throw a dagger as well. He misses, unfortunately. Calliope, what weapon? She has a sling, I'm pretty sure. She has a sling, yes. And she has a THAC0 of 19. 13 or higher. 14 is a hit. He has 1 hit point. She inflicts that as a minimum, and she actually inflicted the maximum, so he is killed by a stone to the face. And that was the end of the combat. Okay, so having defeated the bandits, the characters gain another 160 pieces of gold times 1.29 this time, so that means 206 pieces of gold that they can loot from these bandits, and that means that once they have secured that gold on the boat, they're going to get 206 experience points to divide among the whole party. And then also for defeating 4 bandits, they get 40 XP divided by the 9 characters, so around 4 experience points each for that. Then, of course, there is also 4 crossbows and 4 daggers, and technically the previous group of bandits also had weapons. I'm pretty sure they had short swords, so that would mean that the party has 9 short swords on the boat that can perhaps be useful in the future, or they could sell them. Okay, so the party, they are going to draw the conclusion that they are in danger now at any time that they are inside the city, because they suspect that the Bandit King knows that they fought and killed and caused the death of 9 of his men. So that means that they are probably not going to just continue to move into the city at this point. They are instead going to retreat to their boat and probably come back in the evening, in the night time, when they have the cover of darkness. Well, actually, what the party is, what I am going to decide that the party is going to do instead, they are actually going to sail away so that the situation in Redport can die down for a bit. So they are going to take their boat and then they are going to sail. Well, actually, that's on this map then, because they are here. Then 1, 2 days, so that they end up here. And then they are going to investigate the field of glowing bones, much to the joy of Grimindor. So let's see what the card says about the field of glowing bones. And right, so this was the 22nd, so 23rd, 24th. The 24th of November, the party reaches the field of glowing bones. Okay, so a field of glowing bones. The rocks that cover this mountain are joined by thousands of giant bones, each of which glows lavender. Why are the bones here? And this map only has a 1, so apparently not all of the islands are going to have 2 numbers. This one only has 1, and it is this hex in particular. So let's see what it says. It says, field of glowing bones. The bones of hundreds of long-dead giants cover the mountain. Every bone glows lavender, flashing to white if a spellcaster happens to touch one of them. These are the remains of an army of giant warriors that were slaughtered by devilish fiends many years ago. Anyone who sleeps near the glowing bones wakes the next day weak and restless. The bones drain life. And then we have a d6 random mountain encounters here. So let's see. So this is quite the spectacular thing to behold, and these being bones, Grimindor is going to be interested in what kind of magic it is that makes them glow, and probably Curtis Torin is also going to be a little bit interested in this, maybe even Artaigon is going to be curious. Calliope is not very happy about this, and she might even stay on the boat if they go to investigate these bones. We'll see about that. But as they approach and as they see these things, the party don't yet know all of the information from the card, so they are going to go ashore and they are going to investigate the bones. Okay, so I am going to roll an intelligence roll for the arcane casters. And Grimindor gets a bonus 1d6. No, wait, he gets to subtract a bonus d6 because he is a necromancer. So let's see, intelligence, and they need to roll low. And Grimindor gets down to a 0, so that's a very good roll for him. Curtis Torin succeeds, and unfortunately Artaigon does not succeed. But then again, he's an illusionist, and this is probably quite far away from his area of expertise. So let's see what Grimindor draws as a conclusion. Right, so they pretty much, because he rolled really well, Grimindor, with the help of Curtis Torin, they reached the conclusion of what is said on the card. So probably everyone except Grimindor just sort of wants to leave this alone, especially Calliope wants to leave this alone, but Grimindor is convinced that he would be able to use these glowing bones to create some sort of a magical item or something like that, maybe crush them, use them in a potion, or use them as some sort of a focus for a spell, something like that. So, but I am thinking, because we have the random mountain encounters, I'm going to roll on this table as they are experimenting with the bones. Let's see, a number 4. A rock spire is covered in strange runes. That's interesting. So just to make it easy on myself, we know that the giants fought the fiends, so either the rune spire is connected to the giants or to the fiends. So I am asking the coin, is it connected to the giants? And if it is a no, then it is the fiends. Giants. Yes. All right. So it is a large stone spire with the runes of the giant language, or the language of giants. Unfortunately, I don't even know if that was on the list of things that you could end up with. I'm going to check that. No, in Old School Essentials, there is no language, no giant language to be rolled up on the other languages chart. All right, so that means that no one recognizes these strange runes. The party, they are not going to go exploring any further on the island, because these interesting glowing bones, they are right here, so then they don't risk getting lost. So they're going to spend some more time here, seeing if they can find anything else of interest, and then they're going to get back on the boat, and then they are going to travel to over here, and then they are going to enter Redport from the east, traveling by land instead, and hopefully they can leave the boat somewhere here so it's not visible from the city. So that is what they're going to do. But I am going to see if there is another, well, I'm going to roll one more roll on the encounter table. All right, let's see. Number 6. A bone golem is guarding a cave mouth. Ooh. Okay, bone golem. A 6-foot-tall construct of human bone, crafted into humanoid shape. They have 4 arms attached at different places on the torso. And they are... Ooh. They have a lot of attacks, and they are quite dangerous. Now, I am going to say that the party, well, technically I should use the rules for encounters. I'm going to do that, even though I am thinking that the golem is guarding this entrance, so it's unlikely that it's going to come running at them or that it's going to pursue them if they do not show an interest in the cave mouth that the golem is guarding. All right, so encounters, surprise. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to do it the way that the rules say you're supposed to do it. And that means the golem, well, it means that each side is surprised on a 1 or 2 on a d6, and the golem is the red die. And everyone is surprised, I'm very surprised to bump into this golem among the glowing bones. All right, encounter distance, wilderness or waterborne for I suddenly fell into Swedish. 4d6. Sorry about that. But 4d6 times 10 yards. And that would be 9, 15, 17, well, times 10. 170 yards. Wow. Well, that is quite a distance. So, but because both sides did get surprised, they see each other at this distance. However, the golem is guarding the mouth of the cave, and it's going to ignore the party. And the party, although there are 9 of them, since they are level 1, they are definitely going to leave this creature alone. However, they are going to make a note on their map that this bone golem is there guarding something potentially interesting, maybe even the first dungeon, who knows. Right. And unfortunately, I am already starting to lose my voice, so I am going to say then that the party is going to travel back. They were here, right? So the question is Grimindor going to bring... Grimindor is definitely going to bring some of this strange, glowing, life-draining bone that they find here, but he's going to pack it away somewhere on the boat where it's not close to anyone and it's not going to harm anyone, but then he is going to be able to make experiments with that later on. So they bring with them some glowing giant bones, and then they travel for 1-2 days, well, actually maybe just 1 day in this direction. So on the, well, let's say the 26th, right? Because they spent some time in the field of glowing bones, and then they travel here, and then they are going to travel from here. Well, they're going to have to stay on the boat as I end the session so that they don't get into trouble in the wilderness. So that is what they're going to do. Yes, on the 26th, they are going to be able to travel into this hex as the next session begins. I mean, it's perhaps highly unlikely that it's going to be on that day, and that's going to mean that, again, they're going to have spent time on the boat, but how that plays out, we'll just see next time. A few more things that I actually forgot from the previous session. The first one is that the city, there were no suggestions for names for the city, so we are simply going to call that Paradise City. And the boat, the boat is, if anyone wants to name the boat, you have one more chance. Otherwise, from the next session, that is going to be the Sea Serpent. And finally, the Guildmasters did pick their alignments, so I am going to put that on the screen now so you can see those. And right, but not everyone picked an alignment, and then I said that I was going to randomize, so that means I'm going to randomize. So I am rolling a d6, and on a 1 the character is chaotic, on a 2 or 3 they are neutral, and on a 4, 5 or 6 they are lawful. And in this game, if you want to give your character a sort of 5th edition type of alignment where you add good, neutral, or evil, that's perfectly fine. I sort of actually prefer that style of alignment, but never mind. And so, the first character for a random alignment is Artaigon, and he is chaotic. Then we have a Flark. Flark is neutral. Then a Lekkis III. He is lawful. And finally, Tharos the Thief from the Grey Army Guild, and his alignment is lawful. That's a weird thief, perhaps. So, if any of you Guildmasters that ended up with a randomized alignment, if you want to change it, you are welcome to do that in the comments. Just let me know and I will change it. Otherwise, this is what you are stuck with for the, well, for as long as this character survives, and then you can change it when the character is replaced. And if there are not more comments for the power dice, then it is quite likely that people are going to die, as we saw during this session. The game is at this level, at least, and well, I think in general the game is quite deadly, and if we didn't have the power dice, then both Calliope and, well, no, actually not Calliope, but Artaigon would have died this session, and Calliope would have survived with 1 hit point or something like that, I think. So, please comment for the power dice, and also leave a like for the gold bonus. And if you have any suggestions, feel free to leave those in the comments, and then, much like the bug people, they can be added to the campaign as it moves along. And this time, well, I said that the party was going to travel into Redport this way, but actually, if any of the Guildmasters, if you would like to do something else instead, yeah, you are welcome to leave suggestions. Well, that's technically a vote, and if you can agree on what you want to do, then that is what the party is going to do next time. And to make it simple, I think either they could go back to the Field of Glowing Bones, they could investigate to the south and explore the Blood Coast. They have maybe probably heard a rumor that there is a witch somewhere on the island named Gretchen. They can enter Redport, probably then to continue fighting the bandits. They could also go around and investigate and explore the Prison of Blood, though it might be dangerous, who knows. And, well, I think those 4 things are enough. So if you want to vote on something other than going back to Redport to fight Merrick the Merman, the Cursed King, then leave that suggestion, and then you can all vote on the different suggestions. And that was it for this time, and I thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.